Japan's modern image is one of big business and frantic cities. Few Westerners realize it also has remote and beautiful areas of wilderness. The Japanese believe that Kushuri Marsh on the island of Hokkaido is an enchanted place, and that some of the animals which live there are messengers of the gods. Japan is heavily overpopulated, but there are a few wild areas left. One such refuge is just north of Tokyo at the great shrine of Nico. The first shoguns are entombed here. The inner sanctuary of the Golden Shrine, where the spirits of the shoguns rest, is decorated with animals of special significance. Many are birds and beasts which are said to communicate with the gods. Today, when Japanese people visit this national treasure, they also learn about their natural heritage. The Nico temples are now the center of a vast national park. Many of the animals which live there decorate the external walls. In ancient legends, the Japanese or Latham snipe was sent by the gods to observe the world of man. Today, these birds would probably report back that man is taking over the earth. Latham snipe were once common in Japan, but years of indiscriminate hunting and loss of habitat have decimated their numbers. Kushuri Marsh on the southeast coast of Hokkaido is one of their few strongholds. It's a maze of boggy islands, impenetrable in summer. As soon as the snow has melted, usually in April, the first snipe fly into Kushuri for the start of the breeding season. Until recently, the marsh was uninhabited and covered 30,000 hectares. Today, it's only 2/3 of its former size. Kushuri Marsh is a national park and special protection site for wildlife. An area of about 8,000 hectares is now protected. This is where the marsh gods live. The local people are poetic, and Marsh God is the name they have given to the Japanese or red-crowned crane. It's one of the rarest cranes in the world, and together with the snipe, depends on Kushuri as a breeding ground. Cranes are monogamous and mate for life. Deep within the inaccessible reed beds, with only other water birds as company, they are safe from foxes and human disturbance. It's here they build a rough nest and incubate their eggs. Most of the drier areas round the marsh have been drained for farmland, but the field margins still support a wide variety of wildlife, and in spring, the woods echo with the sound of birds. A strange drumming announces the start of the snipe's spectacular display flight. His two outer tail feathers vibrate in the wind to produce this curious, resonant sound. The birds also trill from the ground to lay claim to a territory as well as to attract a mate. Resident birds, which have stayed here all winter, have a head start over migrants such as the snipe. This woodpecker is already busy excavating a nest hole. When the local Aboriginal people, the Ainu, first heard the snipe's courtship sound, they described it as the cry of an exile from heaven. As soon as the birds have paired up, they fly off in search of a nest at the edge of the marsh. In the damp woodlands, a snipe's 4 eggs are perfectly camouflaged among the grasses. The returning female's mottled feathers also blend in with the background. Only the bird's movements give away its whereabouts. Snipes are shy, elusive birds and try to stay well out of sight of predators like the fox. The snipe sits tight, relying on concealment as her best defense. If camouflage fails, the snipe still has one last trick to save her precious eggs. Feigning a damaged wing, she tries to draw the fox away from the nest. June is a busy month. Most of the marshland animals have young to feed, as well as territories to defend. At the snipe's nest, the first chick has hatched. The rest will soon follow. In the centre of the marsh, a pair of cranes have a single chick. Although they lay 2 eggs, only 1 in 4 pairs successfully raise 2 youngsters. The vixen gave birth to 3 cubs in a snug underground den much earlier in the year. By now, her offspring are old enough to venture out in the open. At this stage, the cubs are defenseless and their mother must be constantly alert. At the first sign of danger, she sends them scampering below. A herd of cows seems to be the cause of alarm. They rarely trouble foxes, but a careless heifer could easily trample a snipe's brood. In the long grass round the edge of the field, the chicks are safe. While their parents are away, the nestlings instinctively remain quiet to avoid detection. Only on their mother's return do they emit a faint cheep. The chicks are now several hours old. Their down feathers are completely dry, but they still rely on their mother for warmth. The female is restless. Her family are vulnerable at the nest site, and it's time to leave. According to Ainu folklore, the snipe were so captivated by their life on Earth that they forgot to report back to the gods until the end of the summer. When they returned to heaven, the angry gods beat them until their feathers were torn to shreds. To this day, the snipe is still known as the bird with the tattered coat. Latham's snipe were the subject of an intensive study by the Wild Bird Society of Japan at the Trepan Sanctuary. At the end of September, the snipe gather on marshes along the coast of Hokkaido before embarking on their long migration. Mist nets are strategically positioned along the shore in the hope that the birds will fly into them as they prepare to leave. At night, the birds are gently removed from the nest and bagged for transport to the laboratories. Back at base, detailed measurements are taken. These records help the scientists to assess the status of the snipe population and to prepare a conservation strategy for the future. Leaving Japan behind them, the snipe fly south. The route they follow is not known, but it is thought they avoid the Philippines and strike out directly across the Pacific. Their traditional wintering grounds lie on Australia's southeastern shore, but wetlands all along this coast have been drained and reclaimed. Both Sydney and Melbourne were once prime snipe country. There are few undisturbed stretches left. Pressures from developers is intense, and vital wetlands, particularly those next to big cities, continue to shrink. For thousands of years, this part of Australia has been home to many kinds of water birds, including these avocets. This wetland, just west of Melbourne, is now crucial, quite simply because it's the only one left in the area. Resident black swans mingle with migrants like the royal spoonbill and Latham's snipe. An international conservation treaty between Japan and Australia now protects migratory birds like the snipe, at least from the huntsman's gun. But in the next few years, many areas used by the snipe at both ends of their range will be lost if man continues to destroy these last wild places. Without such havens, the outlook for migrants such as Latham's snipe is bleak indeed. By October, the snipe's breeding grounds in Japan are buried under a metre of snow. The sub-zero temperatures would mean certain death to any lingering snipe. But some birds are actually attracted to this frozen world. Whooper swans fly down from Siberia and northern Korea. Between 11 and 13,000 of these birds winter in Japan, about a quarter of them in Hokkaido. The annual run of cod attracts a variety of fish eaters to the bay. The most impressive are the rare Steller's sea eagles, among the biggest of their kind in the world. Foxes quarter the floes, searching for edible flotsam washed up onto the ice. Swans need open water, but there's little food for them out at sea. What really attracts them to this seemingly hostile environment is a network of rivers and lakes just inland. The lakes are thermal, warmed by volcanic activity deep within the earth. The subterranean heat keeps the water ice-free and opens up ideal feeding and roosting places for wintering swans. Whooper swans are highly vocal, hence their English name. But the Japanese call them angels of winter, a name inspired by their beautiful wings. Without the thermally heated lakes, the swans would undoubtedly fly further south. They could not survive the freezing cold. Yet even the angels of winter take second place in the hearts of the Japanese to the birds they call the Marsh Gods. In 1958, a special crane park was established to help preserve them. Indiscriminate hunting and the ravages of war had brought the Japanese crane close to extinction. Amazingly, a breeding nucleus of 30 birds survived in Kushuri Marsh. Protection of these few precious survivors, together with supplementary feeding, has greatly improved the situation. Their numbers have now increased to 600 birds. This should ensure the survival of the species. A clash of horns marks the start of a new day. The marsh gods are also active soon after first light. They leave Kushuri Marsh, where they've roosted all night, and fly in small groups to their feeding grounds. They announce their arrival with a fanfare of trumpeting. In 1952, local farmers, villagers and school children started a program of winter feeding. Fish and grain were distributed daily for the cranes, but it didn't take the scavengers long to discover what was going on. Foxes and crows are never far away when a free handout is offered. Even a white-tailed sea eagle joins in. Cranes feature widely in Japanese art and culture. They are a good luck token, a symbol of fidelity and long life. The Ainu still perform a traditional crane dance in honor of the marsh gods. The women mimic the movements of the displaying birds and imitate their calls. Courtship is a year-round affair for cranes. They will dance at any time of day and at any time of year. As they prepare for their breeding season at the end of winter, their feet hardly seem to touch the ground. Hokkaido, like everywhere else in Japan, is densely populated and the demand for land is intense. Kushuri Marsh, the last stronghold for birds like the Japanese crane and Latham snipe, is under pressure from many quarters, including other land use like the construction of golf courses. The water also gets polluted by the runoff from intensive farming. Soil and sand flow into the marsh and may well have a detrimental effect on the ecosystem. So what does the future hold? The protected area of the marsh can only support small populations of birds. Although this is well managed, and the government has awarded the Japanese crane the status of special natural treasure, the question remains. As mankind continues to expand, how long can Kushuri remain the land of the marsh gods?